Hey guys, this is Miss Gorley, and today we are going to look at our next steps in our literary playlist analysis project. So, just to recap, thus far you have conducted your community report. You now know among several of your peers and community members, your parents maybe, how often they're reading, what types of books they're reading, what types of books they would like to read more of, and any connection that they might see between music and their reading habits. And it will be your job later on to really find that connection and build upon what they shared with you and analyze your results. But before we can do any of that, you have to finish the promotional aspect of your project. You have been tasked with choosing a novel and connecting it with at least 7 songs. And I'm going to explain to you today exactly what is expected of you and how that should look when you're done. So, I am on Google Classroom, and when it comes time for you to do this, we of course will be talking about this in class a lot, but this video will also serve as a help to you as you work through this project, and for you to be able to refer back to it often is the goal so that you will be successful. So I am going to go to classwork, and here you can see I've added 2 posts yesterday that we will be using in class today. So you're going to go to literary analysis playlist assignment and open up that Google slide for me. Okay, so let's go over our content and technology objective for this project. So, after conducting research into our community's reading habits, which you have done, you will create a playlist presentation with relevant visuals to promote a novel of your choice and the joys of reading, with a link to a Spotify playlist that connects to an analysis of the novel's theme, characters, conflict, quotes, and plot elements while scoring proficient or higher on the rubric. The technology objective, after researching our community's reading habits, you're going to create a literary playlist presentation using Prezi to present your analysis of the novel. And that is not what we are getting into today with this project. I will be going over the um, Google Slides presentation that you will make first, that you will then embed and incorporate into your Prezi. So stay tuned for a later video on that. Okay, and this is going to be your table of contents to find things more easily, hopefully. And this is getting into your directions. Now, this slide is important because you've already had a portion of this. The directions in the beginning about the Google form, check, you're done with that. Great, moving on. So now let's get into quote, evidence, song selection, all of these elements that you're going to have to incorporate into this playlist that is going to connect to your novel. So we will be referring back to this slide often, but let's just go over it one time just so you can become somewhat familiar with it before I show you some examples. So your quote or your evidence. So for each literary element, which we're going to go over shortly, we're talking about theme, conflict, protagonist, etc. You are going to have to get back into the book of your choice and find a quote, an explanation of the passage role in the book, as well as a specific trait or value that represents the passage. So when you're thinking about the theme, there could be lots of quotes in your novel of choice that really touch on the theme that you're wanting to analyze. But it is going to be your responsibility to go find that and then be able to connect that quote to that literary element and to the song of your choice later. So then the song selection part, you are going to select a song that best represents the details on your literary element card. Although you might not find a song that matches perfectly, you want to focus on the trait. And then lastly, you will pick a section of the lyrics from your chosen song that best fit with the literary element you are focused on. And all of this will go on the card, which I'm about to show you. But before that, I did want to talk about, I've already had several of you ask, um, why are we doing this? How does it connect, etc., which I love. So this summer, or last summer, I should say, Dolly Parton and James Patterson wrote this book called Run, Rose, Run, and many of you have read guitar notes in your previous courses, and so some of you are familiar with that. Some of you might have seen the Dolly Parton new book with James Patterson. Music and literature are inextricably tied, and some of you have already begun to make that connection. I've heard the conversations you're having, and that's awesome. And that's what the purpose of this is for. But if you really want to see more of some real world examples of what this looks like, these are two great places to start. And we have guitar notes in our library. And I know Run Rose Run is in our local public library. And either of these would be great for even just flipping through and seeing how they worked the lyrics into the story and how they used music and the experience that music gives us to further enrich the story and um, just make a connection that wouldn't have been as evident without the lyrics throughout. So consider looking into that if you're still struggling and you're just unsure as to what this should look like. Okay, song selection rules. Let's read through this. You are going to get one song for each section of your book that you analyze. So there will be 7 songs total. You can only have a max of 2 songs per artist, okay? You get 2. I know some of you are big Swifties, and maybe you want to do all 7 with Taylor Swift, and that's great for you. But the purpose of this is to try to reach a larger audience. And if we all have Taylor Swift songs, some of us might not like Taylor Swift, and we don't want to put anyone off from being interested in your book or your playlist because of one artist. So keep that in mind. And then lastly, make sure that whatever song you select on Spotify is clean. If it doesn't have a clean version, you've looked, and Spotify does not have it, then you need to speak with me and we'll go over next steps or see what, if we can find an alternative that would be more appropriate. Okay? Okay, music selection tips. When I did this in the past with students, the first comments were, I don't know what type of song is going to fit with this idea. It's too broad, it's too big. How will I ever find a song that matches with what's happened in the story? It's so unique. And that may be the case. I would argue that it would be very difficult to find a song that is going to match a theme completely from beginning to end. Every aspect of it aligns with your character, your conflict, whatever. So we're not um, looking so much for the entire song. It can really be narrowed down to just a section of lyrics. And if you can pull that section of lyrics and you can analyze and connect it to the novel, that is okay. And that is still fulfilling expectations, and you will still be demonstrating mastery by doing that. So I've listed, if you click on these links when it comes time, there are positive and negative traits to help you if you need it. You're going to match character traits, themes, moods from your book to songs. And then once again, a reminder, search for main ideas and overall topics. Focus on section of lyrics, sample a variety of songs before choosing, explore songs that you may already know. Otherwise, Google is your friend. I have made one of these before. I did it for Great Gatsby. You know, I love Gatsby. And I had some really good ideas for some of them. And then I got to the theme and I was a little, I was struggling to find something that really matched with what I was wanting to communicate. So I started just trying to Google songs about this. And then things started popping up, songs that I knew. And I was like, oh, yeah, that could work. So it could be the same case for you. So keep that in mind as you're working. And YouTube music is fine to use to search for because, as we know, a lot of other things on your Chromebook might be blocked as you're looking for music. And you can use the Spotify app. You will ultimately need to sign up for a Spotify account before this is done, and we'll get into that later. But come back to this slide if you have questions, okay? This is lots of good information. Okay. Here is more specific directions that will go with your assignment. Number 1, your literary element. You're going to analyze 7 different elements from your book. We've talked about that. The quote. We've gone over much of this. Still, obviously, refer back to this. I will say with the trait and value, number 4, if you're struggling with this, go back to what it says here. Scan the explanation, number 3, that you wrote. What is one word you can use to describe the literary term? these could be character traits, settings, moods, values, topics, etc. Don't get too hung up on that where you feel like you don't know how to move forward. You know what it is describing based on the explanation. If you do it in this order, then I think it'll be easier to come up with your trait and value. Okay, here is slide number 1 where you will insert the title of your novel and you will put a picture of your book cover here. And then these are your title cards. And this is what will comprise your later Prezi when we have to present these to the class, along with your community reading habits analysis. And this will be where each aspect of this assignment is captured. So the first slide is your protagonist slide. So you will pick one of the protagonists in your novel, and you will focus each of these elements, your quote, your explanation, your trait value, your song, on the protagonist and what you feel like and what you found the protagonist to be described as, and how a song could connect with them. And so I will show you an example of this from last year. A student used one of our choice novels, Rebecca, to analyze. And this is her protagonist slide. So let me see if I'll pull up here. This is an excellent, well done, distinguished slide. She has a well developed explanation. She has her quote in her evidence, and this is the length or the thoroughness that I would like to see from your explanation. You cannot explain as much as you would like to your evidence and your quote fully in one sentence or even two sentences. You really need to get into that to prove to me that you understand the connection between these. So, and then she chose a classic country anthem, Stand By Your Man by Tammy Wynette. And moreover, let's go back to our other slides first. And so as you're going to see as you're working through these slides, these are all the same except the literary element on the slide will vary because each one, this will tell you what your focus should be for this element. So you got setting, you've got new character where you can choose an additional character, you've got mood / tone, theme, conflict, and setting. And so this is an example of a setting slide that I've included from Gatsby. And so although I told you all this, you cannot include numerous Taylor Swift songs. I myself am a Taylor Swift fan, and so I did incorporate her song Welcome to New York for my Gatsby setting because, as we know, Gatsby and New York hand in hand. And I put on here about the city scene from the Queensboro Bridge is always the city scene for the first time, and its wild promise of all the mystery and the beauty in the world. And this was a big thing, right? And I explained that. The setting in New York in the 1920s, pop culture and the media have perpetuated the allure of New York City, and much like the view espoused by Nick Carraway, upon his entrance into the city, many across the world continue to believe that one's problems will be solved and dreams realized in this city. But throughout the course of the novel, we know that Nick, a man from the Midwest, goes from being enamored by the city to a feeling of utter disgust. But for most of the novel, the glamour and the parties and the wealth that can be found in New York is the drawing point for Gatsby and Nick and who they feel like they could be. So this is an example. Once again, refer back to this often and as needed. Okay, so take a breather for a moment. Know that I too will be providing you with a few of these former student slides. And I'm going to give you a few minutes to jot down any questions you might have. Okay, I'm pausing the video. Okay, we're back. If you are virtual today and you're watching all of this from home, take this moment to pause me and email me any questions you might have while they're fresh on your mind. You are sure to have questions as we go, and that is totally fine. That's what I'm here for. So that was part 1. You've seen the cards. You've done a hard part really with the survey and your analysis. This is the fun part, picking songs, picking your favorite novel, and connecting the two. Yay! So, what we're going to do next, I'm going to show you the one of the final parts before the Prezi presentation that you will have to do, that we will use to showcase the novel in the library. So I'm going to use my former student's finished outline. She used Rebecca, as I told you earlier. Once she finished all of this, her next step was to create the actual playlist on Spotify. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You will go to spotify.com. If you do not use Spotify for your music needs, I will show you how to easily create a free account. You will log in, and then you are going to go to over here to the left. It says your library, create a new playlist. Okay, and you're going to see this screen. And so I would recommend your playlist having something to do with the novel. I'm just going to title this one Rebecca. You can be a little bit more um, creative if you would like, but and you can add a picture later. None of this is necessarily um, required, but it would be good. Okay, once your title has been changed, you will start just adding songs. Spotify is super easy to use, so I'm just going to search for her first song and Stand By Your Man, Tammy Wynette. Typing that in. There it is. I'm going to click it. And over to the right here, it has the add button, and it has added. I'm going to go to her next one, Moon Over Georgia. She was a country music fan, and I'm going to add it. I'm going to go back, Devil in Disguise, Elvis Presley. There it is, added. I'm going to do one more just to show you what you're looking for. The Dance, Garth Brooks. You kind of have options here. This would be one of those things where hopefully she would have listened to it before and decided which one she wanted. I'm going to add that one. Okay, when you are to this point, and there were still several more songs I could have added, but I think you get that part of it. Pretty simple if you've done your due diligence. And the last part of this is making the Spotify code, which will be used by others and by yourself to scan your playlist, kind of like a QR code, so that everyone else can listen to it. Okay, when you are ready to create your Spotify code, also very simple. You are going to hit these three dots. It says share. You are going to copy the link to your playlist. You will then go to spotifycodes.com. You will remove the URL they have here. You will paste your URL. You will scroll down and accept their terms of conditions. And there you go. You have your unique Spotify code. And we will go over and practice in class. If you have the Spotify app on your phone, maybe you're aware of this technology. If not, it's very, very cool. You can use the camera in the Spotify app to scan this, and it will take you right to this playlist. And so this is what it looks like. It will not let me scroll down. There's a button right there. You can't see it very well maybe on mine, but it says download. It's going to pop up and save it as an image. Some people had luck last year just copying and pasting this, but in case that doesn't work well for you, it's never a bad idea to just save it to your Chromebook. That's my preferred method. So I have it saved. I'm going back to Classroom at this point because I do want access to all of these codes just in case we have any issues. So I'm going to show you that some of your classmates have already started adding these. There is a document. It says add your Spotify codes here, and I have the Spotify codes website available to you here as well. You will go down on this document and you will insert your unique Spotify code. next to your name. You can see that some people already have had a lot of luck. I'm going to do a blank one here so you can see. And you will go to the last column where it says Spotify codes, insert image. I saved it to the computer so I know it's going to be there. And there you go. And now I have access to all of your Spotify codes. This will be part of the turning in process. You will have access to others as well. And this will be used in the final steps. We will compile them onto a poster presentation that will be displayed in the library. And I wanted to show you. These are my students from last year. My example here. You can see the poster here. Some of them chose Sharon Draper's Forged by Fire. I had several students choose the same book, which we've already gone over, is totally fine. And they shared a poster here where they wrote this book blurb together to tell others about the book of their choice. And each of their Spotify codes are listed. Same over here. This was Brides of Eden. And the student wrote her book blurb and her Spotify code is there. And so in the end, in addition to presenting these to some community members and your classmates, it's a big project. We'll still have these up for several weeks afterwards for others to enjoy your hard work. So that is the next part of your assignment and your next task. This has all of the good information, this presentation that you'll need to complete this. I am available to help you by email, in class, whatever you may need. I am happy to help. So be thinking of questions you might have. Don't be afraid to share or ask because I'm sure many of your classmates might have the same questions. So thank you. Good luck. I look forward to listening to your playlist and maybe finding a new book to read.